Om Shanti. Welcome all of you. Let's spend a minute in silence before we begin. We'll invoke the Supreme Being for the episode. So, Om Shanti, welcome all of you once again. And good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all the souls from different parts of the world. And we are very, very fortunate that Sister Jayanti is with us for the third time. Thank you so much, Jayanti Didi, for your esteemed presence as always. And before we start, I would just request the Vancouver team, Sister Claudia and Sister Taran, to welcome Didi.
Om Shanti, good morning, good evening, good afternoon for all of you. Welcome, Sister Jayanti. It's so much a pleasure to be with you. Just look at you, we feel happy. So I think we are all looking forward to hear from you, your tips, how to be cheerful in life, because life brings sometimes many different things, but still we have to be cheerful. So we are all looking forward to have you and with us, and then get some tips from you, and then become cheerful like you, have the face like your face. Okay, so I like to ask Sister Taran to give you a little gift for you. I will pass it to Sister Taran.
Thank you, Sister Claudia. Happy to be with you.
Taran?
Thank you. Beautiful.
Thank you so much, Taran sister.
Om Shanti. Actually, I'd like to say a little about this plant. This is red and white peace lily that we like to present to you, sister, to go in your new Oxford garden. And red and white is the color of our Canadian flag. And red and white is also symbol of colors of peace and power. So this, and then there's butterflies already on it, as you can see, to bring cheerfulness. So thank you so much, and please accept this beautiful plant.
Thank you very much. It's beautiful.
Thank you so much, Sister Taran, for reminding us this beautiful butterflies. I remember a group name when we do our Vihasa workshops. It's called Beautiful Butterflies. They are very, very cheerful. And let me today give a surprise to all of you. I have written down a small poem on Sister Jayanti. I would like to really read it, and I'll introduce her that way. I'm not very good at it, but I'll try my best. So as all of you know, Sister Jayanti is basically the European director of Brahma Kumaris, and also she looks after all the Middle Eastern activities as well. And she's one of the important United Nations representatives. All of us know that very well. So when we look at Didi Jayanti's face, as Sister Claudia already mentioned, full of cheerfulness. So why is there this cheerfulness? So wherever you are, Didi, there's always a lot of cheerfulness, because you're always away from fearfulness. Didi Jayanti, for all of us, is very, very dear, because she's miles away from fear. And to the Supreme, she is always very, very near. So there you are. She's very dear, away from fear, and she's always very, very near to the Supreme. A few more lines. She has this beautiful inner radiance, which gives all of us a life full of abundance. I'll repeat because the translators always, they feel I'm very fast. She has this beautiful inner radiance, which gives all of us a life full of abundance, thereby bringing us closer to the Renaissance, thereby bringing us closer to the Renaissance, which is the new age. Hence, we all feel privileged to be in her divine presence. And a few other qualities, because I feel very heartbroken when I feel, oh, today is the last episode with Didi, but we'll again catch you, Didi, soon whenever you will be giving us time. So Didi is always full of royalty because she has this immense loyalty. So she's full of royalty because of immense loyalty, and also has this unique ability whereby her mind is always away from duality. I'll repeat, she's got this unique ability whereby her mind is always away from duality. And finally, I would again repeat, she's always fearful and therefore she's always cheerful. So with this brief introduction, I would just want to again give a few housekeeping instructions. If you can see, there's a globe icon named as interpretation. You can click on that and all the languages, whatever you want, you can select. And again, Didi's talk would be for say around 40-45 minutes, going on to 9 p.m. India time. And we'll have question answer session after that for around 15-20 minutes as usual, and followed by the meditation on the same. And the chat box would be open to chat only with me, and we'll make sure that we don't disturb the speaker in between with the chats coming in. So if you all can just send your questions maybe closer to 9 p.m. India time. So with this, over to Sister Jayanti for the talk on cheerfulness. Thank you.
Om Shanti, a greeting of peace to my sisters and my brothers, and many, many thanks for this very warm and kind welcome. I myself was asking the question, what is the root of cheerfulness? What is it that's happening inside the soul that allows that happiness to come, and there's that sense of joy in everything that's going on? As Claudia mentioned, there's lots of things happening in the world that can give a lot of sorrow. But I remember Daddy talking at one point. Daddy shared so much with us, Daddy Jayanti I'm speaking about. And at one point she said to somebody who really wasn't very interested in Raj Yoga and couldn't see the need for doing anything further, he said, you know, I'm happy, I'm content, everything is fine in my life. And Daddy asked him a question. Daddy said, well, that's good. I'm very pleased to hear that. But how many other people do you give happiness to? And he was silent because I don't think he'd ever thought about it in that way. You know, for him to be happy and content was fine. That's it. And I don't think he thought about being an instrument to give happiness to others. And so today in this world of sorrow, yes, we're taught how to be happy ourselves, but I think also part of that story is to what extent am I actually giving happiness to others around me? And of course, that will bring blessings in itself, and it'll bring dual blessings, blessings from the people I have served, but also blessings from above. Because when I have served souls, then the Supreme Soul sees this and smiles and rewards me with great, great joy and power. And so we get all the things that God wants us to have when we serve others, because He's then happy and He's sharing with us all the love and the blessings, but also a lot of strength and also happiness. So it starts from inside. It's very easy in today's world to put on a mask, a face, a smile, and tell the world everything is fine, everything's okay. But what's going on inside of me? My eyes will reveal that. Sometimes you see people and the smile of the lips and the quality of whatever is being emitted by the eyes doesn't tally, it doesn't match up. And you begin to wonder what's going on. And yet, of course, if there's joy within, happiness within, then there's a natural radiance and a natural smile. And it's reflected not just from my lips, but also through my eyes. And so the eyes have been said to be the windows of the soul. And so the eyes are able to reflect what's going on inside the soul. I can't see the soul. I can know you, that you are a soul, but what's happening to the soul? That is reflected through the eyes. And so is my smile, my cheerfulness genuine, or is it not? You'd be able to get a very close estimation of that by looking deep into my eyes. Another question, just as a preliminary, have you ever seen anyone who's constantly happy? I have. And yes, of course, Dadi Gulzar, everybody who ever had the fortune of seeing her, and I don't mean when she's an instrument for Baba, but I mean through the day, the evening, the night. Many of us had a chance to be with her in the morning hours, in the afternoon hours, the evening hours. And there would be a very, very charming, sweet smile. And she was also very silent. So her radiance wasn't bubbly, but it was a profound feeling that she has God with her, and she's peaceful, and she is joyful on an inner level. And then with Dadi Prakashmani, her smile could charm anyone and make them change their mind from being a non-believer into being a believer. And Dadi Janki's eyes were full of mischief. They had a very distinct sparkle. And so her smile was also very, very special. And of course, Dadi would tease us, Dadi would joke with us, Dadi would make us laugh in her classes. And so, yes, truly, having lived with her day and night for 40 years, having known her for 60 years, but having lived with her day and night for 40 years, I know that the joy that she felt about belonging to God and God belonging to her was so deep that anything happening on the external level just wouldn't impact it. Success, great. It's God's gift. No success, it's fine. We are planting seeds. The seeds will reveal themselves and show their beauty at the right time. And I can't push seeds. I can't tell them, I have a time pressure, and so you have to sprout. Have you ever heard a seed follow an instruction like that? Not possible. You have to be patient. And even if the seed is taking longer than you expected, it's going to definitely germinate and it'll spring forth, and you'll be able to see the results of the work that you had put in planting that seed. So cheerfulness is visible outside, through my eyes, through my lips, but it's also noticeable through the words that I speak. If I'm discontent, then the way I speak will give that away very quickly. And of course, my lips will go down and you'll say, what's wrong? Something's wrong, definitely. But if all is well and I'm happy and content inside, then the things that I'll say will be empowering and encouraging, not things that put a damper on someone's spirits or negativity that's going to pull them down. So cheerfulness begins inside, within the soul itself. And happiness is actually one of the original qualities of that inner being of light that I am, the soul. It's always very useful to think about any of the virtues we speak about. and see if you can connect them back with the 5 original qualities of the self: purity, peace, love, truth, and joy. These are the original qualities of the soul. And so definitely cheerfulness is connected with the joy within, the happiness that lies within, that can't be taken away, no matter what is going on around me and outside of me. So what I found is that the more I'm able to take off all the masks that actually hide the soul even from me, the more I go into that state of soul consciousness and the masks are removed painlessly. It's not difficult. It's painless. In fact, the more masks you remove and the more you see what's going on underneath, the more you want to get rid of all the different masks so that that which is authentic, that which is absolutely the pure inner being can be revealed. And so that state of authenticity in which the mask of position, the mask of relationship, the mask of possessions, we're able to strip these away and go deeper and deeper within the self to get to that being that I am within. When I get to that being, then I discover the peace, the purity, the love, the truth, the joy. And in fact, we are told that in terms of spiritual endeavor, what is the thermometer? A very quick and easy way to check, to gauge where you are on that ladder of spirituality. And the thermometer is that of happiness. And so when my happiness is high, I know that I'm moving forward on the path of spirituality very well. And if I've lost my happiness for whatever reason, then probably there's something that's not quite right inside. And it's by going inside in what we would call the awareness of the soul, soul consciousness, that I would be able to find why my happiness has decreased. And so let me understand that first fact about cheerfulness, that it's not simply putting on makeup or putting on a mask, but it has to be genuine. And you've seen how sometimes there are people who are able to give you a flashing smile, all 32 teeth, but you know that it's artificial. It doesn't feel real. And yet another smile might be a very gentle smile, not a big, flashy, gleaming smile, but a very soft and gentle smile. And you know that it's sincere, it's from the heart. So that sincerity comes when truly I've been able to go inside myself, and all the things that people see externally, and I think that I'm defined by all those external things. It's not true. It's not real. I am who I am without a position, without a designation, without a title. I remember when Dadi was asked to become the chief of the Brahma Kumaris. This was in 2007, August. The head of the organization, Dadiji, had transitioned, and we'd known that it was coming. And so a good few members of the spiritual family were gathered in Abu. And in India, they do the ceremonies very quickly after departure. And so within a couple of hours, everything was ready, and the ceremony, the final rites began. And the next day there was a meeting, and they appointed Dadi Jayanti as the head. She was 92. Imagine taking a new job at 92. but she did. And soon after she came back from the meeting, we knew that was what the meeting was about. I wasn't in the meeting, but I knew that that would be the discussion. She was back in Shakti Bhavan where she stayed, and I was there. And somebody telephoned, and I didn't know what the person was saying, but she said to them, I am what I am. I'll continue to do what I can do for God. The title makes no difference. So I think that that person had been phoning her to congratulate her on being the chief, but that was her response. And she would never, ever describe herself as the chief. She would always say, I'm a child of God, I'm a student, I'm a yogi. That's it. And so today you have a title, tomorrow it's taken away. Does my happiness get taken away with it? Well, then it wasn't real happiness. Happiness is dependent on something deep inside. Or if there's a relationship and somehow, according to destiny, there's a shift in that, whatever reason it may be. Again, if my happiness goes with that, it means that I was not just loving that individual, but I was actually attached to them, dependent on them. And dependency and attachment and possessiveness are not very healthy feelings to have. And so I am who I am without any of these external things, my possessions. Do people judge me by the clothes that I wear, the jewelry that I have, the car that I drive? They're not my real friends, because my real friends know that I am quite separate from all of these possessions. And whether I have them today and I lose them tomorrow, it's okay. I am who I am. So when the soul goes deeper and deeper into the journey of discovering itself, it's able to come to that inner state of being where my dignity and my joy are independent. They're not dependent on the external things by which nowadays we are judged by in the world now. We describe this period of the world as Kali Yuga, the Iron Age, the Dark Age, the age in which materialism and consumerism is rampant. And so, of course, people only see me with that physical identity, matter. That's all that matters at this moment. But that tells you nothing about me. So my happiness is not dependent on those things. I'll share a story. It's a bit of a long story, but it'll give you an idea. Apparently, some years ago, a British professor was invited by the American government to do research into the subject of happiness. And he went across and they gave him a big budget. And so he thought that he'd do a survey. And it was research that was conducted across the world. And the question was, what does happiness depend on? That's it. And they had all of these millions of answers come. And guess what? It's the world of mammon, the world of money. And so no surprises. The first answer that came back was, happiness depends on money. And the second answer, happiness depends on appearance, on beauty. And then there were a mixture of various things, but these first two answers were pretty consistent and clear. Number one, money, and number two, appearance. And so he decided he would check this out. And he went to that place in the world where within a very small space of the earth reside the most millionaires and billionaires. And that was Washington at that time. And he went to one of them who was very high up on the list. And he asked this individual, "Does your money make you happy?" And the person reflected. And his answer was a bit of a surprise. And he said, "Well, it provides me security, but I don't think it's actually brought me happiness. Yes, I'm glad that I have all the basic necessities of life and I don't have to struggle for them. But beyond that sense of security, I'm actually quite afraid, because I'm afraid that the stocks may go up or the stocks may go down and I have no control over that. And so I might see my fortune rise or I might see my fortune come crashing down. And also, I'm afraid that there's going to be a theft, a robbery. And so all the things that I even have in this house, they might get stolen and my personal wealth will very definitely be reduced by that. But also, I'm afraid that my friends don't really love me anymore. I don't know if it's my imagination or whether it's real, but I keep thinking that this person wants my friendship because he wants my money. And so it's not a nice feeling that I cannot even actually say who is a good friend for me anymore. And so he had many other things. He had to be so security conscious. He said it's like living in a prison, in a jail. His freedom was gone. He couldn't come and go as he wished. So a bit of a surprise that where one would have thought, many people thought, that money brings happiness, actually it doesn't. And then he went on to the second part, where people had said beauty, appearance is what brings happiness. And he went to the place where the maximum number of beautiful people live. And again, at that time, it was Hollywood. And so he met hero actors and hero actresses. And the question that he put to them was the same. Does your beauty bring you happiness? And again, to his surprise, the answer was a very resounding no. A few of the things were similar, but the list was like this. They were afraid that something might happen, an accident or an illness, an infection, and that would take away the beauty. What would happen to them then? And so they were constantly fearful and had huge amounts of insurance premium to make sure that if something happened, then it could be taken care of, at least financially in some way or another. But that fear was very much there. Secondly, they said that we don't really know who our true friends are. Do they think that by knowing me, they're going to get a pass and entry into the privileged jet class, the jet set? Maybe they don't really like me, who I am, but they want me because I become their passport. So I can't trust my friends anymore. And then the other thing they said, every day we're looking into the mirror to see if there's another line here, another wrinkle here, another line here, because everything depends on this. And we're so scared that the new generation who are coming up behind us are going to overtake us. there's 18-year-olds and now I'm 30-something. And so I'm not young anymore. And these young ones can overtake me in a flash. And so if I have more lines or if I have more wrinkles, then that's going to be a door that opens for them to overtake. And the next thing they said, we have to be so conscious of everything we eat. Every mouthful is full of calories. And we have to make sure that we stay trim. And we can't enjoy a proper meal anymore. And so these were the sad stories of the people with wealth and the people with beauty. And so definitely, it's not these external things that make us happy. When I don't have them, I think I'll be happy if I had them. But when I have them, I know that there's lots of competition around on every level, and I'm not going to be able to keep my happiness in the way that I would like. So the externals, let me let go of those. The titles, the degrees, the possessions out there. And let me go deeper and deeper inside my own inner world. And I'll discover the happiness that is part of me. I'm not having to chase it. I'm not having to look for it. It's there. I just have to feel it and be it. And so the message, cheerfulness externally, comes from the real happiness when I connect with the soul itself. And of course, a connection with the divine, because I'd forgotten what that I was carrying inside of me. But the love from the one above brings great happiness. And so I begin to look for what there is inside of me, so that this can become long-term, not just a flash in the pan for a short while. But happiness is my birthright. Happiness belongs to me. And I've forgotten it, but the more I remember who I truly am, that happiness again emerges. So keep digging inside, not outside. You're not going to find any gold out there, but keep digging inside and you'll find the diamond that you are, the beautiful diamond that sees only virtue and reflects only virtue. So go within. That's the first message. And the second thing, cheerfulness comes from being very clean inside. Now, easy or difficult? A bit of both, in the sense that it's not hard work. It's not like digging your garden, especially when it's so hot. And I'm sure that some people have been trying to dig their garden and do the lawnmower, do the mowing of the lawn and all sorts of things like this. But that's fine. Do all of that. But also the digging inside in here and the weeding inside in here. So pull out everything that isn't your original property. Pull out the vices. Pull out negativity. Pull out criticism. And when I've pulled out all the extra unwanted stuff, then the inner qualities begin to express themselves and they shine. The reason for this is that the world is negative, the soul has become negative, and so it's very easy to absorb negativity. And people will say, but that's what life is about. But it doesn't have to be. I don't have to be carrying attachments and complaints and bad feelings about others and criticism about others. What I need to do is to have a very clean heart a very pure mind, an intellect that's connected with God and so is filled with that divinity. And I need to have my original pure imprints, the samskaras that I carry. I need to have that same purity with which I first came down onto the planet. It's time to return home. So I have to clean up everything before I return home. Otherwise, there'll be great confusion. And so, where do I begin with the cleaning? Maybe with the intellect. At this time, it's possible to have an intellect touched by God. And when God touches an intellect, the intellect becomes divine. A lot of people get exposed to the teachings of Raj Yoga, but only some make the decision to follow the path, because it's a very conscious decision that has to be made. It doesn't happen just by chance. Your meeting with the Raj Yoga Center or Brahma Kumaris may have been by chance, but the further things that continue to develop, those things are not by chance. We think they are, but the reality is that they're not. Everything has cause and effect. Everything has a reason to be happening when it does and how it does and all of this. And so the intellect, that's the lucky one, gets touched by God. And it's a precious, precious gift. This divine intellect is very fragile. And so it has to be protected. Madheshwari Ji Mama, whose month we celebrated in June, always used to say that protect the Divya Buddhi, the divine intellect, as if it were a newborn babe. There's a certain way you have to hold the baby, because the bones are not yet set in the skull and the brain is very fragile. And so you have to be very careful. But imagine having to look after your inner being, the intellect of the soul, in the same way. Wrap it in cotton wool, Mama would say. Same thing. Can I keep my intellect focused on that which is divine, that which is not of this physical dimension? And if I keep my intellect divine, my happiness will stay intact, because my intellect will see only virtues, 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 virtues everywhere. And when I see virtues and I absorb virtues, I'm happy. When I see defects, I'm not harming the other individual, but my vision, my attitude, my awareness has changed. And as a result of that, my happiness disappears. It takes only a few moments for that to happen. It's not that I'm hammering away looking at faults. No, but I notice fault, and it's at the back of my mind, and it's going on, and it's going on. And so the message, let the intellect be so clean that it doesn't see anything that's less than clean, because it's going to be influenced. I allow my intellect to dwell on a fib. I know that this person isn't speaking lies, but for whatever reason they are. When I see that lie, what happens? Do I instantly have distaste for that individual and I cut them off? Well, that's not going to help. Okay, I've seen it, but can I now switch it around and see their speciality? And every soul does have specialities. that I have to allow myself to make that switch so that my intellect is not influenced anymore by the mistake they've made or the things they've said or should have done and didn't do. I'm keeping myself protected by ensuring that I don't see anything that's defective or negative or wasteful. I'm very aware of that. And so this will keep my intellect healthy, shining, clean. And that intellect is able to connect with the divine. Why? Because in the physical world, opposites attract. In the spiritual domain, like connects with like. And so what I need to do is to make sure that my intellect always has good influences, good motives. And when I connect the intellect with the divine, I'm able to feel that grace. I'm able to feel that strength and support. And so keeping the intellect clean, keeping my mind clean. If I have some time for spiritual study every day, then that spirituality keeps my mind very clean. And so something happens and I don't know what's behind it. What I'm seeing is not what I like, but I don't know the story. And so at that moment, rather than let my mind run off in wasteful directions, let me say, okay, just slow down for a moment. Let me think about it. And of course, it wasn't a normal moment. It was about half an hour. But in that space of thinking about it half an hour, the person's been able to turn it around. And they're not seeing that whole story as being something negative. They're now saying that, well, because this is what I did, and this is the lesson I learned, and I would never have thought about it in other ways, but it was demonstrated to me. And so I was able to learn and pick up those virtues. So I need to keep my mind very clean. And through the process of intense yoga, ensure that my imprints, the sanskars that I carry, are also very clean. And so as I go through this process of purification, I'm preparing myself more and more to be happy, cheerful, and be able to give happiness to others. And so with everyone's support and cooperation, it can happen. Okay, another factor. And that factor is, if I've kept good relationships with others, then it's more than likely, it's probably going to be that my neighbors are also going to have love and respect for me. Who took the first step? Well, maybe they did, but if they haven't, can I take the first step? And if I have that very much in my mind, that my love and cooperation for everyone has to be constant, the return automatically comes back, and I'll never feel isolated. I'll never feel alone. I will never feel that there's something missing, because there's good company. I've invested in having good relations with them. And now I'm getting the return, and they support me. And yes, they could have chosen many other things to do, but they chose to be with me, to help me through to a different understanding. So very, very important to ensure that mind, intellect, sanskars are going through that process of purification. And then nothing will touch my happiness, and it will reflect in my eyes and my face, but it'll be infectious. I was telling you about the daddies being constantly happy. Well, yes, but they had 14 years of silence, of tapasya, to prepare themselves. But for the last few years, we've had a sister with us from India, and she's here and she's highly skilled. But that's not why we'll remember her. We'll remember her for her laughter. We'll remember her for her lightness and her ability to just make everyone smile. She'll go to this one, she'll go to this one, she'll go to this one and this one. And you'll hear peals of laughter wherever it is she's gone. And I sometimes say to her, you've forgotten how to walk. You only know how to run. And so when I hear the sound of a runner, definitely it's going to be this sister. So she's very young, but I haven't seen her with anything different except a cheerful face and a happy face. So I don't have to think about the 14 years of tapasya, and I didn't get a chance to do that. But all the things that Baba's teaching me can definitely give me that inner state of happiness. I use the word Baba for father. God is mother and father, but sometimes it's just easier to say father, Baba. So what else is it that can bring me happiness? Do a kind deed. And sometimes we give money thinking that that's what the person who comes knocking on our door with an empty bowl. But actually, what people need at this moment is food. They don't need other things, but they do need food. And so can I, as an act of kindness, cook a little bit extra and give it to a person I know who would appreciate it? And this is how home help in many different countries has started during COVID. We would say good karma is important. Others would say feeding others in the name of God is important. So whatever label I give on it, the important thing is, am I able to reach out and do a kind deed for someone? Good wishes and pure thoughts for everyone, that's a must. Nothing but good wishes. Anything less than that pollutes me. I can't be happy. So good wishes for all. Good words for all. Generosity of spirit in my language. Being able to appreciate and empower. And the third, acts of kindness. Spontaneous acts of kindness. You see somebody who's walking down the steps with things in both arms, and you offer and you say, here, let me help you. Much easier to walk down, especially if you're a little bit old, holding the railing and whatever else it is you have in your other hand. If you're trying to manage with things in both hands, you're not going to be very successful. It's going to be very difficult. And so let me see if there's an act of kindness, something that was unexpected, something that even though I was busy, yet I was able to see the need and be able to fulfill the need. And so if I can do that, my thermometer of happiness will continue to rise. What else can I do? I must make sure that I don't gossip. Gossip is dangerous. It may be true, I've heard it from somebody else. If I've seen something myself and it's not as it should be, let me have the courage and the humility to go to the individual and say, but how come this happened in this way? Or maybe I don't have such a close connection with them, can I ask somebody else to ask on my behalf? What's going on? Just think about it and see if there are people who you know who would appreciate something like that. And so take that little extra step each day, which is not out of duty or because I have to, but because I want to. And so the more I begin to practice it in this way, the easier it'll become to stay happy and content. So anything that's going to cause pollution in my mind is dangerous. And so I don't want that. I have to deal with it and get rid of it. And so it seems that that state of inner cleanliness is so important, to be able to get to that stage where, yes, truly, cheerfulness is visible on my face at all times. And if somebody comes crying, I'm not going to laugh at them. I'm not going to give them a beaming smile and say, it's okay, everything's fine, everything's fine. But no, there's compassion, there's understanding. They've been through a hard time. And so let me see if I can give them such warmth, such good feeling, that they know that help is available, that they can come. And if it is possible, I will try and help them in their particular situation. So a few tips on happiness, but I would recommend that the most important thing is good, clear communication. If I'm happy inside, my head is clear, my communication is more than likely to be clear. If I'm confused and I am reacting to everything that's happening around me, then I'm not going to be able to, what can I do? Whatever is inside is what's going to come outside. And so let me have that state in which I've protected my inner state of happiness so that truly that cheerfulness can be of value to another and help another at a moment of need. I'm not dependent on somebody making me happy, but because I'm an instrument, I can make somebody else happy, but not so that they come closer to me, so that they come closer to the divine. So let me stop here and see if there are questions that you'd like to take up.
Thank you so much, Didi, for these beautiful small tips. Quite a few questions on that as well. I'll start with one of the first questions. I think it's coming from a doctor. It's all related to COVID pandemic. Can I be cheerful amidst seeing such deaths of so many patients in the intensive care? And is it selfish to be cheerful at these times?
If there's happiness inside, it's not that I'm giving a beaming smile, but then I'm going to be able to support the relatives. I'm going to be able to give support to the bereaved ones, in which a smile of warmth, of compassion, because that's what's in my heart. I'm not laughing at their misery, but I'm out of empathy for them. I'm giving them a smile of warmth and telling them, this is what has happened, but your good feelings in God's remembrance can help the soul in its journey. And so, yes, there's grief, but also the sign of pure love is that you're able to allow them to receive God's help rather than pull them back. So I'll find the right words to be able to say to those who are bereaved, because for me, it's 1 out of 10, 20 that I've seen go into transition. But for them, it's that one and only who is their very special family member. And so happiness in my heart means I won't cry when I see their tears, but I'll be able to wipe away their tears and make them understand.
Right. Thank you, Didi. Another question is, you mentioned about those 5 original qualities. That's peace, purity, love, truth, and joy. And I think they have done the Raj Yoga meditation course. So they are wondering, what about the 2 others which we are taught, that is knowledge and power? Where do they fit in these 5?
The highest form of knowledge is truth. And so that is there within the soul itself, the original truth of reality. And this is why when we understand the spiritual teachings of Raj Yoga, it is as if it resonates with us and there's something that we're connected with, that we respond to. And power for me is the combination of all of these qualities. When I have peace, I have power. When I have love, that is strength, that is a power. And as I develop all of these qualities, the soul becomes more and more powerful. So I see them as being part of the 5 rather than 2 separate things.
Right, that's a beautiful explanation. Thanks so much. Other thing is, it's mentioned about a Hindi proverb, Amma mare to bhi halwa khao. Like it's mentioned in our daily teachings, which we hear in Brahma Kumaris, in the Murlis, that always be cheerful, come what may, whatever the situation may be. I think you took that in the first question, but do you want to elaborate more on this, that even if someone dies, how can I be cheerful?
That statement comes very specifically in the context of an individual when it had happened. And this was a sister who is now still alive. She's in Ajmer at the moment. And what had happened was that it was a Thursday morning and she'd prepared food for the offering, the holy offering that we have. And it happened to be halwa. And she got the news that her mother had passed away. And so she telephoned Baba. It was the days when Baba was still here in the physical dimension. And she spoke to Baba and told him the news. And Baba said to her, well, what are you planning to do? And she said, I'm going to be offering this food, this halwa that's been prepared for God. And then I'm going to go to Ajmer or wherever it was that this person, the mother was staying. And Baba said to her, very good child, you have love, but you also have detachment. And that means that you won't have any tears and you'll be thinking of God and offering halwa to God and then share it with everyone as prasad. So it was very much in the context of a particular situation. And so it describes that stage where if I'm possessive, I'm holding on to somebody, then if they leave, I'm devastated. But if I'm soul conscious, and I, the soul, know that this costume is a temporary one for me, it's not going to be with me forever. The soul is eternal, the body isn't. And so when I'm thinking about the soul of my mother, my father, or whoever, the soul is eternal. My thoughts and my feelings reach them. This is why the first answer was just simply give them the awareness that if they truly have love, then they can send that soul God's light and love to help that soul in its period of transition. And so I have to do the same. Not be attached or possessive, but be internally detached so that I can be with God. Then I can send God's light to that soul. Otherwise, my tears are really out of self-pity for me. What's going to happen to me? Who's going to be around? All of these things. But real detachment is also the real love in which I'm supporting the soul in its transition.
All right. Again, a few Hindi words one of the brother is mentioning. I'll just translate them as well for all of you. It's prasannachit and prashannachit. So prasannachit is someone who is happy all the time from the heart. And prashannachit is a person who's full of questions all the time. So the brother is asking that to be cheerful and happy, Do I need to be away from all the questions?
Again, it's in a very specific context that Baba has talked about this. And the context is that where there are waste thoughts, how, if, what, but, maybe, all these things that keep going around and taking my mind into a spin with no resolution whatsoever. If only this had happened, but it didn't. Something else has happened. But why the but? Understand that this is what destiny has brought. Now deal with it. If only, all these if, but, maybe, these little words, but they create a huge amount of waste of energy in my own mind. And so how am I going to be happy if I've got all this waste flying around? There's no way in which I can be happy. And the other side, where I'm content, where I'm free from waste energy, then in that state of contentment, I am stable, I am calm, I am happy. And so very important to cultivate that stage.
Right. Another question is how to avoid listening to gossip.
I think a gentle way is to say, can we change the subject, please? There's more interesting things to think about, and to see if you can shift everybody. Another way, if that's not worked, I know the people, I know the characters, and so they're not going to change the subject, they're going to pursue it further. And I look at my watch or my mobile, because nowadays everybody looks for time with their mobiles, their cell phones. And I say, well, I'm really sorry, but I do have other things to do now, and I'm going to have to leave you. And if I do that consistently, every time gossip begins, the message is pretty clear. And the message is not just to one individual, but the message is to many individuals, because it can happen with anyone. And so I'm not going to gossip, but equally, I don't want to listen to gossip.
Right, perfect answer. Other thing is, a brother is asking a cheerful attitude or a cheerful nature. Do you want to share any experiences, because you're very cheerful, the brother is saying, that from your real life experiences with Brahmins, has that cheerful nature helped you to overcome difficulties and overcome different sanskars of people?
Absolutely. If you can laugh at something, it's easier to deal with it than if you cry about it. And so there was a situation a couple of weeks ago, and I was so detached that I could just laugh about it. I could smile, and it really didn't bother me at all. And it helps keep your sanity. Otherwise, if you get sensitive and little things come and make you cry, then you're going to not stay stable for very long, because your emotional upheaval will destabilize you in situations where what you need is a cool head and a warm heart and a clear mind. And so it's very important to get on top of this and learn to keep smiling, no matter what is going on.
Thank you. The sister is mentioning that today, listening to the talk, we realized that cheerfulness is something which has to come from inside. So a lot of inner work needs to be done. As you mentioned about the cleanliness in detail of the mind, intellect, and sanskars. They are mentioning about, which I think it relates to the 3 R's we have, the roles, the responsibilities, and the relationships. You touched upon them briefly about relationships particularly. So he's asking, you have already said that, but they're saying that can you provide some everyday practice points to be happy as a soul while we are playing different roles and responsibilities, and especially in these times of Maya. Maya, I must say, for the people who are here, like all our weaknesses, all the kami kamzo, like whatever, they can explain what is Maya. taking our test every day and every moment. So how do we remain cheerful? Some few practical tips for a daily basis. Yeah.
If I'm studying spiritual teachings every morning, then what I do is to take a few things from every single lesson that I listen to each day. So even if it's 3 points that you take and you keep them in your awareness, they'll probably help you deal with whatever is going to happen through the day, for sure. And so say somebody is defaming you and you have to stand there listening to it. But if you smile at them, you're not going to be very happy. They're going to think, aren't you listening to me? Why aren't you listening? What sort of response is this? So you don't smile, but you just keep calm and you don't let it touch your heart. You evaluate it to see to what extent it's useful. Yes, maybe there's something in my behavior that's triggered this reaction, but even if there's nothing that's there and it's totally uncalled for, what's the best way to deal with it? Do I get upset? How is that going to help? The person's already defaming me, and my getting upset and emotional is going to add fuel. It's not going to be helpful. The best way I can deal with it is to stay stable so that I'm not accepting the defamation that's being thrown at me. Then where does it stay with? You know, they say that a person brought a gift to the Buddha. He was sitting under a tree and some of his followers were sitting nearby, and a person comes and gives a gift, and the master doesn't say yes or no. The gift stays there. And afterwards, they ask him, Master, why didn't you accept that? And he said, well, if it's good, then I'll get ego that, I've been given this great gift. And if it's bad, then I'll feel very bad. Why did this come to me? And so I didn't accept either. I don't want praise. I don't want defamation. Let it stay with whoever is the one who's giving it. Sometimes things don't go as you would like them to go. The whole pandemic story is about this. We think it's finished. The second wave comes. The second wave is going, and they're already warning us about the third wave. So, okay, what are the lessons we have to learn from this? And again, it's not smiling with 32 teeth, but it's happiness inside that nobody can touch, and to know that each of the scenes of this drama are actually carrying us forward. There's always benevolence in this drama of life. And so let me stay with that and not have any other thought about it at all. It's come, it's taught us many lessons so far. Everybody who's today listening, if you were to make a list of the things that COVID times have taught you, I think at least everybody would have 5 or 6 different things that they've learned from the COVID experience. Some would have even more things. And so if something as bad as a pandemic can teach us, well, little things that are going on, definitely we can learn a lot from them. The important thing is not the smile of the face, but what's in my heart and whether I'm stable, and whether my eyes are reflecting that goodness or whether it's something artificial.
Okay, great. I remember you had spoken, because one of the questions relates to that. In the last talk, I think it was economy, you mentioned hurt people, which means just for the audience that Didi mentioned that people who are hurt, they tend to hurt people. I'm sure I'm right about what you said that day. It's like that. So if someone has hurt me so tremendously and so badly, how can I still maintain my cheerfulness in that setting?
I can either carry the burden with me until the end of my days and say it's because of this individual that I'm not happy, or I can say I've carried this burden long enough. Now I want to be set free. And I take God's love and I allow my heart to open. And as I take God's love and allow God to heal me, healing is important before I can forgive, but it's not human healing. It's God's love that can heal me. And as I take God's love and allow the healing process to work on me, then when I feel comfortable, then I can say, now I'm ready to forgive. I can let go. I'm not doing the other individual a favor by forgiving them. I'm doing myself a favor because it's through this that I find freedom. There's a story about Nelson Mandela. After his incarceration, he was being set free. He'd waited for this day and never imagined it could even come, maybe. And he had to pass through one door. And then there were some yards before he passed through the second door when he would be finally out. And as he walked in between one door and the next, he talked to himself. And he told himself, if I can't learn to forgive, I'll never be free. I'll always be in prison. And so by the time he reached the second door, he told himself, now I have to let go. And he walked out a free man, not just free from the external prison, but free from the inner prison. And the whole of history was shaped after that in a very beautiful way. If he had walked out still carrying feelings of bitterness and anger and revenge, which was very human and possible, he could have done that, what would have been the outcome? It would have been a bloodbath, for sure. But he walked out with that generous spirit of forgiveness. And because he was free, and by then, of course, Mr. de Klerk was also going through his transformation about what are my morals telling me. And so because two individuals with deep awareness of what is spirituality and morality, never mind religion, but these two qualities, they came together and there was a new era, not just for South Africa, but it really inspired people across the world. So what do I want? Do I want to stay in prison and carry on being a victim? Or do I want to be free and walk as a free individual in which I know that I'm responsible for my own future and my own feelings?
We'll just take the last two questions. It's slightly lengthy question. I'll just summarize it for you. The brother is saying that he is very happy and cheerful when he does counseling, when he supports young family members, and when he does troubleshooting for them. But I do realize while doing all that, I am only a tool in the hands of God. So I think he's answered there only, but he's asking, am I cheerful or egoistic when I'm doing those?
It depends on your consciousness. If I think I'm doing this, then my ego is going to trip me up and make me fall, and I'll be very hurt and very upset. But if I'm truly doing something as an instrument for God, then I'll carry that state of inner contentment that God is the one who's doing all this. There won't be acceptance of praise. There won't be any need for gratitude. Whatever I've done is fine, and all thanks go to the one above. So it depends on your internal consciousness, whether it is ego or whether it is truly being God's instrument.
Right. And I'll just take the last one because we are just, the time is getting over. You actually shared a lot of stories about Dadi Janki and Dadi Prakashmani, how all of them had maintained this cheerfulness naturally. So this brother wants to know about Brahma Baba and even Dada Vishwa Kishore. Both these, you have any examples which reminds you of how they were cheerful naturally?
I'll share about Dada Vishwakishore. Dada Vishwakishore was amazing. He really was like the one who was Baba's right hand. He was the one who organized the journey from Karachi for 350 people by ship to Oka Harbor, and then by train all the way to Abu. Amazing. He was even able to negotiate with the government to be able to bring all their goods with them. So everything was done. And so how did he do it? Everybody told him it's difficult, it's impossible, it's impossible. But he did it. And he did it because of his inner faith and total commitment. And so his positivity. And so I'm sure he must have smiled at the officials in the government and told them, because they didn't want the Brahma Kumaris to leave. They thought that they were good for them to be there to provide that, because they saw them as the children of God. So they didn't want them to leave. But he negotiated with them with a smile, with love. And so all of that happened in a very natural way, very easily, without any trouble. You've seen the horror pictures of people sitting on top of trains, or people dying on the journey from India to Pakistan, or Pakistan to India at that time. And of course, God's protection. The signal was, stay where you are. And then when things were calmer, then the signal came, it's time to move. And he became the instrument to facilitate all of that. And Brahma Baba, I'd met him as a child, and then again in 1966. 1965, Mama had left, the mother who was doing all the work of caring for the children. And Baba took on a different role. Of course, the Supreme Teacher speaking through him, and of course, a person with amazing farsightedness and an intellect that could see everything. And very sweetly, very lovingly, I was 16 and my brother was, I think, 12, something like that. And Baba met us, and then in the evening, Baba said, do you have everything you need? Do you have your toothpaste and brush? If you haven't, we can arrange it. Do you want to have bread and biscuits? We don't have an oven here, but we can get it from the bakery, which is down in the village. And so very light, very homely, very cheerful, making us feel absolutely comfortable. This is home. So anything you need, anything you want. And of course, we didn't want any of those things. We had whatever we needed in terms of our personal toiletries. And we also were very comfortable with the food that was being provided. So we didn't need anything. But it just won our hearts that Baba could be so light and warm and playing the role of a mother in such a practical way. You know, it's a mother who will think about, are you okay with the food? The father, the teacher will continue a different way, but Baba very warm and cheerful, playing badminton with us. So very light, very easy.
Thank you so much, Didi, indeed, for answering all the questions and answering them so cheerfully. We just feel so light with you all the time. With this, I'll just request Dr. Ashok Mehta now to propose the vote of thanks. Over to Dr. Mehta.
Om Shanti Jayanti Ben.
Om Shanti.
You speak like the Ganges coming from the top of the mountain, the Himalayas, so pure, so refreshing, and just flowing. I think every word that you speak, it comes from your heart and from your experience of being a teacher, an outstanding teacher, living with Dadi Janki has provided you, I think, the finest companion. Dadi had companion, God was his companion. For you, God and Dadi, two companions. So you had a double engine with you. I think every word that you have said is just touching everybody's heart. And I think cheerfulness is from within. And each one of us have to open up our various layers and reach to the bottom where we will find a real happiness. I've always felt very happy to be with BK family everywhere, wherever I went. And when I started my journey, I came only as a professional. I had very little depth of knowledge. And the first time I went across the world, Dadi Prakashmani sent me to introduce the global hospital. And sometimes I'm just looking back that I didn't know anything, and still they used to put me on the stage, and I don't know what I used to say. But one thing I understood was that I was with the school of positive thinking, and that's what it was. I really thank you for accepting our invitations and sharing your valuable time and experience. Thank you very much on my behalf and on behalf of all of us. Thank you, Jayanti.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashok Bhai, for your kind words. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Dr. Mehta. And before we go on to the meditation, I would just request Sister Anu to quickly do the announcements for the next episode.
Thank you, Brother Manoj. Yes, after this very empowering spiritual reflection on cheerfulness from Jayanti Didi, we will move on. Our next program is the values workshop on cheerfulness. So it is to deepen the practical experience, practice, and inculcation of the value cheerfulness. So we'll have experiential exercises, and we'll have Sister Maureen Goodman from London. She will share with us the insightful sharing on cheerfulness. So she has more than 40 years of Raj Yoga meditation practice. So please join us. It will be on Sunday, 18th July, 9 to 11 a.m. India time. This is our Zoom ID and the passcode, please note. And our next Values for Life series talk is on discipline, Anushasan. It's a very important value for all of us, we know. And we have the fortune of once again having our very dear Asha Didi from Delhi. She is the director of Om Shanti Retreat Center. So please join us. It will be after 2 weeks, same time on 24th July 2021. And these are the same joining links, please note. And we have interpretation, translation going on in many languages. So kindly invite all your friends and family to take the benefit. And visit our websites, that's vihasa.in and vancouver.brahmakumaris.ca. You will see information about all these programs, workshops, joining links on the vihasa.in website. And on the video section of vihasa.in, you can find videos of all these sessions, like today's session will be there. And in vancouver.brahmakumaris.ca website, you can find information about Raj Yoga courses and other workshop information. And these are our email ID. Please write to us for any queries. We would love to hear from you. Thank you very much. Over to you, Dr. Manoj.
Thank you, Anu sister. And over to Jayanti Didi for the closing meditation.
Sure. I'll speak a few thoughts so that we move in the same direction. Going inwards, I see the inner being, a being of light, shining, radiant. And I realize that this is actually who I am. I am a being of light. And being aware of myself, the peace and the love within emerges. Holding it further, I become aware of the truth within emerging, and also the happiness that lies within. I want to be able to share all of these with all those around me. And just simply with that thought, I send out those vibrations of peace, of truth, and happiness. And these qualities reach out and touch not only those here with me, but even those far away. The vibrations travel and reach all around. I resolve to stay in this awareness, not only now as I engage in action, but also to keep this awareness as I come back into my life of action and responsibility. Om Shanti.
Thank you so much, Didi. Om Shanti.
Thank you for the opportunity.